Hey everybody, just wanted to show this thing I've been working on for a while. It's this thing right here, the Universal Test Pattern Generator. And on the back here, it's got a bunch of different types of video outputs. Currently, it's connected to my Sony PVM monitor here with RGB with combined sync. And it's got a little button over here. And if you press this button, it'll take you through a bunch of test patterns that I've programmed into there. And let me turn it off and I'll show you all the features. All right, so over here we're currently on and the LED is green, which means it's outputting. Go ahead and turn it off. And then I'm gonna go here and unplug everything so I can show you what's going on here. So in the back here, we have all of our video outputs, and then we have a USB-C power in. I was originally going to put a battery in here, but I ran out of room, so now I just plug it in externally with the USB power source. And then over here, we have our different outputs. We have an HDMI output, VGA, composite, RCA output, and then this is just a standard 0.156 Molex for RGBS output, which would go to an arcade monitor, or you could even output from here to a SCART connector for a TV that has a SCART input. And then on the front here, we have what I'm calling here, this is my profile matrix. And so we have different modes and different outputs that you can set with these two rotary switches. These are two 5-position rotary switches, just mechanical switches. And so you can select which physical output you want with this switch, and then which mode within that output that you want. And then a mode plus an output equals a profile, such as like 5A or 5B. And then it'll boot into that profile. And then you have just a single momentary button down here, and this changes your test pattern. And if you hold it for 3 seconds, it'll boot into whatever profile you have selected with your switches here. And then there's the power button here and a status LED, and I'll kind of show you what the different colors on that status LED mean in a second. But that's the basics. And so I know this isn't exactly correct nomenclature depending on whether you're talking about video signals or physical ports or those kind of things, but this is how I understand it and what makes sense to me the best. So we'll start over here. The easiest is just HDMI, straight out of the HDMI port in the back, and that gives you just a bunch of standard HD video settings there. I included 1080p 30 frames per second because sometimes I need that sometimes. Anyways, then we have our VGA over here coming out of a VGA port, and some standard VGA resolutions over there. Then RCA, composite video out of this RCA jack right here, and I have a setting for both NTSC and PAL outputs there. And then these two columns here are my RGBS combined sync settings. And so I have my settings here for 15 kilohertz standard resolution arcade monitors and such, and then for medium resolution monitors over here. And those come out of this connector at the top here, which is just your standard connector like you'd see on any arcade monitor, red, green, blue, ground, and then vertical and horizontal sync. And then there's a separate latching button right here to turn C-Sync on or off. If you're using either of these two outputs, you want to have C-Sync on. If you're using the VGA output, you're going to want to have that off. And that's it. That's the entirety of all the ins and outs of it. And everything that you need to do is just with these two rotary switches and this button. So let's set it up, and I'm going to boot it into HDMI and 720/60p, which is what this little monitor right here likes, or it's its native resolution rather. So let's pop those in like that. That's the only things I have connected to that. And then we're gonna go ahead and turn the power on. And now it's blinking red here. That means we're loading. And it's not fully booted yet. And it's gonna take about 10 seconds for it to load, depending on what mode you're in, but usually about 10 seconds. And now we boot it up into our test patterns. And this first test pattern that comes up is always gonna give you the current resolution that you're set at here, which is 1280 by 720. And that's our 720p setting that we're on here, right? And then you get boots up into your test patterns here, and then by pressing our button here, we can rotate through them. So the first one's just these standard color bars and you know, the resolution, like I was saying. Then it gives us a crosshatch. Some of you might recognize that pattern. And then the other thing I want to emphasize about all these patterns is they're all dynamically generated from code. These aren't showing images on the screen. It's drawing these patterns based exactly on what the current resolution it's set to is. So I can add resolutions, I can change resolutions, and all of my code for the test patterns will just change automatically for that. Here's the checkerboard. Just, you know, RGB stuff, red, green, blue, white. There's some gradients. Then these are just like safe areas, border of the screen. Then a geometry pattern, make sure everything's good. This is like a sharpness test, just a bunch of little lines, and then grayscale. Sorry, my camera's going funky here. Then the last two settings here, I needed one that was like, if you guys don't know, I do a lot of arcade repair and CRT repair and consumer TVs and all sorts of different monitors. That's why I made this, is so I always can plug into any monitor that I run into and make sure it's working. But also a lot of times I gotta fix monitors, and then once I fix them, I have to run it and make sure, you know, it actually works. And so I gotta kind of stress test it for, you know, a couple hours or something like that. So I want to have something I could plug in and put a test pattern on it that you know, wouldn't just be a static image on the screen. It would always be changing, so it wouldn't burn in anything crazy on the screen. So I made this falling blocks pattern, which I thought was pretty cool. And then I thought, like, if I'm making this, like, I might as well just make it Tetris, right? So I made this, which is this Tetris demo, and it just plays Tetris there by itself. But I thought that was a nice little one. Instead of just looking at blocks, might as well be Tetris, right? So that's nice. And then that's the last pattern on the machine here. You'll see then it rotates back to the initial test pattern. And so that's kind of all of it. I wanted to show you a little bit more about the actual device here. I spent quite a lot of time working on the design of this to both just be simple and intuitive, and but also look nice. And so I came up with this matrix idea for these as kind of the simplest control interface I could think of that would still allow me to do everything I needed to do on this. So that's what I came up with. If we wanted to go back to RGB over there, just plug in our connectors here. These are the same connectors that'll work on the standard test pattern generator from Crafty Mech. Same pins, you're just the standard monitor output, so you can reuse those cables if you have them, and we're connected to over there. So now we got our cables connected, but we want to boot onto there, so we want a nice 240 P signal over to our PVM. So we simply go over here and we turn this to output number 1 and 1A. Oh, forgot to tell you about this. So you see this light started blinking different green. So this is just a weird little thing. So if for some reason you don't know what mode you're booted into and you don't have it on a screen anywhere and you forget what mode you're in, you can move, see how it's blinking slower now? So there's a little signal here. If it's blinking slow, it means that one of these is not set correctly. If it's blinking fast, it means that neither of these are set correctly. So you can always find your way back to what setting you're on by moving these. Okay, now only one's going slowly, so I know this is correct. And then you can move this one until you get full solid color. Then you know you're back to whatever setting you're originally started on. But let's boot to RGBS 1A, which is our arcade monitor setting. We're good over there. We have C-Sync is on, and so we just hold this button for 3 seconds, and it's going to reset, and this is going to start blinking red, and then it's going to boot when it's ready. A couple more seconds. There it is. So now we're up back onto CRT there. Oh, my camera's not wanting to focus. There we go. And we can step through our patterns here. And that's it. Couple quick things I forgot. Over on the standard definition RGB settings, I have some different settings. I've normally 240p, but I also have some other common ones that were different arcade and video game systems of the time to kind of replicate those. But then I also have a positive sync option, which is just 240p but positive instead of negative sync. And then I have a Sanyo setting, which is all the colors inverted for Sanyo monitors that have inverted colors. So I just want to make sure I have showed you those. So the whole idea here is to cover anything that I would ever need to deal with if I'm fixing an arcade game, or if I'm going to purchase a monitor and the seller doesn't know if it works, or if I'm repairing a monitor for someone, all those things. Just a little closer look at the back here and the ports in the back. This is my C-Sync button for combined sync, and you'll see if I turn that off, I lose sync on my monitor up there. But I just also wanted to cover, there's a few physical video outputs here that aren't covered, such as DVI, and so I can do that either from VGA or HDMI with a converter. And component, I don't exactly have. I've never run into a situation where I need to test component on a monitor. Usually at that point they either have HDMI, or they certainly have RCA or VGA, or DVI, or one of those, if they have components. So I didn't include that, but besides that, I think it about covers everything except for obviously vector monitors, which is just a whole different beast. But for my purposes, minus vector monitors, this is going to work great. Then the whole thing fits in this nice little Pelican case here, with the battery and some cables. I think what I'm going to do is put a little thing on the top here to hold all the cables on the top there with like Velcro and stuff. This is the case that used to house my trusty test pattern generator from CraftyMech, which is awesome. This is a great piece of equipment, and I'm not getting rid of this. It's very simple, it's reliable, never had any issues with it. But instead of housing all of my extra 9 volts in there, I think those are going to go with my multimeter from now on, because that's the only thing that's going to take those now. And yeah, so I'm going to fix that up, finish that, and I'm really happy with it. And then this all goes in here like this, and I can take this on a job with me, you know, wherever. It's going to be totally safe. For you guys who don't know me, my name's Matt. A lot of people just call me Small Change, and mostly I repair arcade pinball games and, you know, all sorts of stuff, consumer TVs, vintage electronics, lots of things. And so this was a thing that I needed for my job to do the work that I need to do, and so I built it. That said, it was quite the undertaking and took a lot of time. Both just the actual design and building it, and then the software side of it as well. And so I don't know if this is something that people are interested in. In my mind, there's probably like a dozen people in the world that might want something like this, but maybe I'm off, and maybe other people would want this as much as I needed it. So that's kind of why I made this video, just see if there's any interest out there, maybe give some other people some ideas. Also, if people have feedback for, you know, hey, I'd love this if it had, you know, this feature or that feature, or just any, you know, constructive criticism, I'm open to as well. Also, just to give you guys, so you're not just a total mystery, this is running a Raspberry Pi 4 on the inside with an Arduino that's running the buttons and the controls and stuff. But I want to be clear, there's no conversion that's going on in here. All the video signals are being output natively by the Pi, and that's why it can accurately detect the resolution on the test patterns, so it knows it is actually what it is. It's not converting it to HDMI to something else to get to RGB. It's natively right out from the Pi, sending all those signals. So anyways, that's it. I'm open to feedback. I'd love to hear what people think, and hope you enjoyed it. Oh, hey, Amy, what's up? Meow. You wanna come up here? Come here. This is Amy, and she likes it too. But yeah, if you have any feedback, let me know. And this is Small Change, and this is the Universal Test Pattern Generator. Hope you like it.